gonna record as well. Yeah.
Teas and coffee being served at the back of the shop. Thank you. Oh, it's just the.
How's that? Amazing.
Is that giving a sermon?
All right, I'm pretty excited about the hybrid equipment.
Right, you go to Revelation. Oh, no, it's not too well.
No good.
Yes, please come in. Nice to have you. Thank you. Teas and coffee being served at the end. Yeah. Good. Guess you want them to sign the thing to sign up to the mail house, is it? My clipboard. Ah, okay. Oh, you got. Anything? Yeah, I'll do it. Show you what to do.
Okay, shall I do this one maybe? Okay. I don't think so.
All right, so it's 6:05, so perhaps we could have a start. Welcome, everybody. For those of you that don't know, my name is Laura, and I live inside the regeneration zone. And I, along with many residents, including yourselves, have been meeting and taking actions to address the regeneration plan that Birmingham City Council has foisted upon us. The reason that we decided to have this public meeting is that following the big meeting at the Health and Community Center last summer, where most of us were locked out, there were meetings in this church. There were about 3 of them. And a number of people decided to get together and have a number of meetings themselves to create actions about what we could do to push against the council's plans for regeneration. Those meetings have been happening. We provided an update online, but we decided we wanted to have a public meeting because now it's time to talk publicly about the actions that we've been taking and the actions that people want us to take as residents. The council has pushed a lot of things on us, but as residents together, we're stronger and we can push back against the council. So in terms of things to talk about today, I was thinking that we might give a bit of an update because he's been chairing some of the residents' meetings that have been happening. The other things that people have mentioned to me on the street, and web to me, and WhatsApp groups, and via email have been updates on legal, updates on an alternative master plan to the one that's being foisted upon us, updates on council properties in poor condition, updates on social housing, updates on homeowners, updates on letter writing to our MP and local councillors, updates on protests, and an update on petitions. The way I see the campaign at the minute is that there are 2 strands. One of them is go away. We don't like what they told us to do. We're going to push against it. Legal protests, etc. And the other strand of the campaign is let's do something else. Let's create an alternative plan. Let's do something that we want for our community. So it's about these kind of 2 different strands. Those are the things I'm hoping that we can talk about. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about other than those things that I've mentioned? No? And can I check that people are able to hear us? Online, just online. Yes, thanks, Steve. Okay.
Thank you, so it's nicely, I'm working with the team, you might be aware of LadywoodUnite.com. If you're not, you can sign up to get regular updates. There's a mailing list and there's downloads and copies of letters that have been sent back and forth. Laura and George we've got here are brilliant letter writers, excellent campaigns on email and meetings that have been going on. So a brief update really following what Laura said. Firstly, just for open transparency, I am involved in politics locally here in Ladywood. I'm a Little Democrat and I do campaign in the area, but I'll leave that there because I'm here with you as a fellow resident in Ladywood affected by this. But it's useful to tell you that just to be open and transparent. So we've had a number of meetings and we know that it has, for some of you, seemed a bit secretive because you knew the meetings were going on. You were seeing some things on the website, but you weren't hearing enough. And we've accepted that. So I don't know whether any of you have seen the website, sorry, the video that went on the website or the WhatsApp group. The goal of that was a first opener as an apology for not being loud enough with you, but also to explain what we've been doing. So there is, as Laura said, 2 strands. The first of which is opposing what we've had foisted upon us. This supposed plan that came out of nowhere. We heard about some news about regeneration, and then for 3 years it went completely quiet. We thought, oh, like with COVID, everything else has gone, and this not coming back. And then suddenly this year in June, we heard from a council report that our local councillors, Cathal and Al had agreed, waved through with a nod, the regeneration plan, even though they said they haven't seen it. There was no consultation with us as residents. And that residents, by the way, we know there could be a mix. It could be lease homeowners, tenants, housing association, council, etc. So there's a range of people, and one of the things we'll get from you tonight is we know there is a range of views. So we aren't here to say doing this full stop. We can't ask for consultation from the council and not give it a view. So that's why you're here tonight. Why we're going to keep asking for your views on the WhatsApp group, on website public meetings. We started going door knocking now, so you might come across some of you on your doorstep as well. Challenges have been legal, which we're going to have an update later, so I don't need to touch on those. They can be quite expensive, they can be quite long-winded, some of which have a time cap on them. So we'll get an update from Laura and George later on the legal side. We've taken as much guidance as we can. We've had some of it for free or cut price. There are some good organisations out there giving that price. We've also been pressing all of the politicians of all colours, whoever they are. So George in particular has been meeting with councillors, been meeting with Andy Street, the mayor, been meeting with the developers, along with Laura as well, been meeting as many people as possible. To effectively, the first part of the message is, where you sit here while you can dictate to us what you're going to do to our area. As we've said repeatedly, these aren't homes, so these aren't houses, these are homes. Yeah, these are places that many of you, we've heard people moving in from other parts of Birmingham, from other parts of the country or elsewhere, getting down roots. You've got family, some people have started business here, you've got people going to school. So there's a whole range of people. And to hear out of the blue that the developer has drawn, some of you see this red line that they've decided for themselves where they're going to develop and what they're going to do in the area, and frighteningly where they demolish places. So we've been very clear on behalf of you, and again, we'll keep coming back to you to hear what you want us to be asking and saying, is that it's not for them to come and dictate what they do to our area. Now, we happen to have an alternative, which Laura touched on. So we're about to set what's called a neighbourhood forum. We've heard from the council today that they want a meeting to go ahead and look at that. The forum then gets 5 years to develop a plan, and that plan has to have the residents at the heart of it. Now, that, as we understand it, would effectively be an alternative plan. It may cover some of the same area. But we've also accepted, and we have many people telling us, there are places out there that need doors fixing that haven't had them for years. There are places with levels of mould, water coming into places, signage not fixed, street lights not working, road areas not working, people not feeling safe. It is more shame that the council has allowed that to happen in the first place. Albert Hall said himself at one of the public radio meetings that the council has allowed a lot of the properties in Ladywood to fall below minimum living standards. So completely unacceptable to the area. So we are aware that lots of people are wanting some form of regeneration. You're wanting an upgrade. You're wanting basic things repaired, as you rightly should have, and especially in the housing association, in the council, tenants have legal rights to have those repaired as well. Some of the people we're being told are now being refused because they're waiting to see what's going to happen. So there's a lot of anger amongst all of us, but also quite a passion. I work with a brilliant team who've done an awful lot so far. I'm going to stop there because we want to make sure that a lot of your feedback comes in. But please do join with us. We're not a secret organisation, but if you've got something you think you want to offer or add, you've got a different opinion. We need to hear those as well. They're not all set across the whole group. So thank you for coming tonight, especially in the car. And I'm going to come back to Laura and go through some agenda.
Great, thanks so much, Lee. Before I start on the agenda, does anyone want to say anything about the plan topics? We're going to talk about legal, the alternative neighbor plan, neighborhood plan, alternative master plan, an update on the council properties and 4 conditions, an update on social housing, an update on homeowners, an update on letter to our MP, local councilors, and protests that I'm missing, and I'm looking in the chat as well. No, okay, let's just jump in. Right, so in terms of an update on legal, for anyone that's worried about the process of compulsory purchase, I wanted to reiterate that you, if you are inside the regeneration zone, get 30 minutes free with a surveyor. A surveyor is not exactly a legal professional, but they are someone who would help you establish the value of your home and also push back against the council's plans if we were to experience compulsory purchase and we didn't want that. The way that you can contact the surveyor is on ladywoodunite.com, and it's the first post there. Every single person gets to contact the surveyor for free. And that's really important because they can advise you on that process. Second, in terms of legal, I have submitted a judicial review with the help of George against the council's decision to confirm Berkeley Group as the developer for the area. We don't love Berkeley Group. They have a history of creating homes that have breathing problems. They're a luxury developer. I wouldn't have picked them if I had a choice, and I'm not sure if many people in the community would have either. So the judicial review is on the basis of procedural unfairness over the lack of appropriate consultation in selected Berkeley Group. None of us really knew about this. It was foisted upon us. Unfortunately, I'm currently trying to drop the judicial review. The reason I'm trying to drop the judicial review is that they're really expensive. The council has come back to me and asked me to pay £5,000 in their fancy lawyer fees. And I don't have £5,000 to spend on the judicial review. So I've asked for help from a law firm called Richard Buxton Solicitors. They're seem like a good law firm. They have expertise in this area, and they're supporting me in trying to drop it, something called drop hands. However, if the council does not allow me to drop it, the cost of the judicial review is around 30 to 40K, and I will be trying to crowdfund for those legal expenses. So watch for an update here. Any questions about the judicial review?
And you want to say anything, can you use this, please?
Yeah, so she's asking what a judicial review is. Maybe George can clarify what a judicial review is. That's okay. A voice other than me. Thanks, George.
Hello. It's fine, we didn't explain exactly what it is, but it's actually turning over the cabinet report to cabinet in June 2023, saying it's unfair. We should have done it earlier, but at the time, the first review, the things were up in the air as far as regeneration goes was from live. And it was suppressed until this was only when we looked in the press that we discovered that the whole area was up for the compulsory purchase order, everything being demolished. So judicial review, we go against that cabinet report. As Laura says, it's become really, really expensive. And Laura's got a huge bill at the moment, so we're trying to overturn that. And we're trying to do our own thing. So that's basically what judicial review is.
Thank you. Other questions about the judicial review? No. Moving on. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Robert.
Have you talked about crowdfunding vibes now? Because what they'll do is they'll make it as difficult and expensive for you as they possibly can, but if they're doing that, it may suggest they're taking it seriously. We need to take it seriously as well.
The good news is Richard Buxton Solicitors has written a really nice brief showing that we are taking it seriously. They believe that the council has acted illegally in not consulting us appropriately. And so there is a legal basis there. But just because these are so expensive, the 30 to 40K, I'd like the £5,000 to be dropped. And to not have to pay it. There will be opportunities for judicial review going forward. as Marco Venuzio at the University of Birmingham has identified, if this particular judicial review doesn't work out. But yes, that's a good point. Does that answer your question? Moving swiftly along then, we have also contacted a free legal advice clinic. Yeah, through the University of Birmingham, myself and some other residents dropped into this legal clinic. There was a lot to cover, as you can imagine. They've responded with some general advice about the regeneration, and I posted that on LadywoodUnite.com this afternoon. On the basis of that advice, there's nothing that I would change about anything that we're doing currently, but they did provide that legal advice. The fourth point in legal is that we need legal support for properties who currently have problems in terms of the mold, the cold, and the rodents, and the properties that the council is not keeping up. And I need examples, and we need examples of people who've successfully fought the council on this and who've been able to win their case against the council. Previously, I'm aware that residents have tried to go to the housing ombudsman, and that hasn't worked. So if anyone is aware of successful approaches to get the council to fix the current properties that are in disrepair, could they please let us know? Lee, I think you might have something to say on that? No?
Oh, well, I mean,
Microphone.
yeah, I mean, we know of examples in the area. I was involved in supporting someone just behind the Bathing Canal on a row of houses there, where having gone into a number of the properties, just by going in, you could sense the mold, you could feel it wasn't that. It's so difficult to explain, but once you experienced it, you won't forget it, will you? So that sort of catches you in the back of the throat. One of those boys in the families next door, unfortunately, seems to be having breathing problems, and we know that that's a growing issue in the area. And unfortunately, I was next to the lady when she rang the council one day, and they let slip, didn't put her on hold properly. And the other end of the council said something to the effect, "Oh God, it's that bloody woman again." Apologies. You know, this is how people are treated in the area, that they're problems to be got rid of. So there are definitely probably legal issues, but as Laura said, if you've got examples, we want to try and support you, but obviously the more weight we have behind that, the better the case is.
Sorry, can somebody take this one over, because I'm recovering from bar, so I'm flipping up.
Something that we've asked the council to provide is those living in tower blocks. Refurbishment, and we asked for a time frame and asked for that to be done absolutely first, because people there are suffering in some of the tower blocks. That's something that comes up time and time again. Now, one of the things I challenged the council is that in the council building, I was in there a couple of weeks ago, and it's absolutely stunning and beautiful. They just spent 32.5 million on it and being refurbished, and whereas it would cost about 50 million to refurbish the tower block. So that's something that absolutely forced to go. We've said we need a time frame that the people in Ladywood, if you're going to come into a development, get sorted the tower blocks first, because that's one of the most urgent things that needs to be done. That's something that we feel might be left to, you know, they're not going to make any money as that, and make money out of auction flats. But we've made a really big fuss about that. We think that's if they're really going to be serious about that, tackle the tower blocks first, refurbish them. Show us that they absolutely need business to look after people they want.
That's one of the other bizarre things, the 7 tower blocks aren't included in any of the regeneration plans. So whilst there might be a tiny bit of money put somewhere, we don't know to do what from the developer or the council. Whilst the council tries to make everything look pretty in their eyes, they're literally going to be building around the tower blocks. So again, completely disjointed.
Yeah, there's a concern that with the tower blocks, any repairs that Berkeley Group does make with the money set aside, it doesn't appear from the full business case that they will address the structural problems that are causing the mold and the damp. So we're advocating for more clarity on that. And that's something that came up recently. I'm also very concerned with the council properties that aren't in good condition, that the plans for the regeneration as it stands means that these problems won't be properly tackled for at least 17 years. I think 2040 is the timeline there. So we need to bring that forward. parts of Ladywood do need regeneration. We need to make sure that those people needing that regeneration come first. That's it on legal for me. Is there anything else that anyone wants to ask about legal? Yes, I think we asked for the council to get back on whether they would drop hands on the judicial review relatively soon. I can't remember exactly when, but certainly this month, whether they respond in a timely fashion. But I mean, that's to be seen. I don't have much hope. Yeah.
We did notice that some of the original ideas around the phase one was going to start in January. That's already prepped forward because I think the noise that we and others have been making, they had to put on some extra meetings when they said they weren't going to. Did anybody get to any of those meetings? Are you aware that they took place? They had them. Yeah.
They were supposed to have one here, on the website, apparently there was tickets to be sold. Now, I didn't find out about this until about 2-3 weeks later. And apparently with my next door neighbour, he tried to get tickets, but apparently it just completely sold out because the way the council did it, they did, housing association, council tenants, so they're not our members. And basically, because I'm a whole lot, I didn't find out about it until way later.
Yeah, we understand they're going to try and draw up what they're calling a residence charter, that the officers of the council are going to write it. But apparently they got feedback from these meetings, which we think we're not hosting more than what 15 or 20 at a time, less than that in cases. So yeah, again, lack of communication, lack of advertising. Was anybody at that first meeting? Yeah. Remember when they literally shut the door on people's faces? And only through pressure. Again, this is people pressure, which is why we're confident we can get some changes, because it was only through people pressure, it wasn't from the community, they put more on, but perhaps not enough.
Indeed. So in terms of the next update, I'm just going to cover one really quickly that's related to particularly the homeowners workshops that were sold out. As far as I can tell, the council does not know what will happen to homeowners. We have not been promised like for like at no additional cost. As far as I understand, we might be forced into shared ownership schemes with Berkeley Group. When George and I met with Councillor Cotton, one of the things that Councillor Cotton promised was to clarify the offering for homeowners. In MP Shabana Mahmood's letter that she recently sent to everyone inside the regeneration zone, she said options for homeowners being developed. That means that they don't know. So I'm afraid that we just don't know what they're planning with homeowners, which is why it's important to keep the pressure up. There's a, can we get a microphone, please? Yeah.
At the workshop that I attended, they actually discussed some of the homeowners options, and information was gathered from the homeowners that were there. They said we're going to take that information back and utilise it to make the charter, which they would then distribute before it was finalised. But
Do you remember any of the options?
yeah, they talked about shared ownership, they talked about like for like, they talked about moving out the area, and they talked about the market value plus 20%, legal costs and moving costs and stuff like that. They basically asked us what would we be interested in, what would we be interested in, and the meeting I attended.
Thank you, that's helpful. Can we have the microphone, please, just for the people online? Sorry. That's okay, it's okay. That's okay.
I'm on there as well, and one more information. I haven't received any letter at home, nothing. I'm from holidays in July. I have plans to put my house on the market. And my neighbor told me, be careful, but when I was in the generations, what should be the generation? And after I go to try to go on the internet, I spoke with another colleagues before on the same situation in other parts of England. And I don't know what people told me is the government should be, okay, pay the value of the market. That's 20%, and that 20% the market is like indemnization when you have to move your kids from the school, you need to, that affects. What I see on the internet is like that 20%, sorry, is already, this happened when the guys construct motorways or something and have to demolition, it's like a compensation demolition property. But I don't have any information from the council, just talking that lady yesterday is not on my part. I'm at work and not a big problem. We live on the corner. And I don't have a clue idea because I buy that property in 2018, sorry, but I invest 75K from my money on that house. So my house inside is everything is new. And now I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna happen, or the council is gonna pay enough money or we do something out of that because I pay the value of the property. I spent 6 months, 75K inside that house to put everything nice like I like it. And at the moment, I have a problem. I'm going to be honest, I didn't contact the council. I'm going to contact only in January because I'm away. But my house is I'm the homeowner. On the top is from the council. And it's raining inside of my house because the floods of the council. Okay, so I have to contact because I'm not interested in pay to fix this because it's coming from the water from my neighbor, the house, sorry, the flat. That is next to that block. It's on the not very close. Okay, I buy mine is a ground flat. And on top of my neighbor, and it's raining inside, streaming water from the walls. Yeah, I want to contact the council to see who is going to be the responsible for the situation because the house is from the flat is from the council, not mine, but from mine.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like the fourth legal point on finding someone an organization or a lawyer to help with those properties that are currently in disrepair is crucial. We can't wait 20 years for the council to decide to do something about this with burn through. Yeah, so moving on, thinking about things that we can do, concrete things, ways to push against this plan. Lee's been doing some fantastic work on an alternative neighborhood plan. Would you be willing to say a bit about that, Lee?
Yeah, so the first step is to form a neighbourhood forum. We have to write a constitution, which is a boring document to say why we exist and what we want to do. Legally, if that gets accepted by the council, we get 5 years to draw up a plan as a community. So it's what we want to see. There's a very similar approach in Perry Bar called the 3 Bs, because it covers 3 areas within the B, and that took about 3 years to develop, and included everything from roads and cycle paths and trees and hedgerows, as well as the actual houses and types of housing and types of development as well. Because we think it's important things like schools and community centres and places of worship and shared places and so on. So it's important there's a range of views put together. So that would be, we think, there's quite a bit to go yet, isn't it? It would be like kind of an alternative plan. But that would be based on what we as a community want, not, as I say at the moment, this red line's coming in, which we've been told they think is fixed and they're disagreeing with them. So this would be an alternative plan. But at that point, everyone in the community gets invited to join the group, and you can be as involved in what you want to be. And at the end of the process, the community has to vote on it to agree with it. So it's a sort of a more democratic process. Well, it's a democratic process, whereas at the minute it's everything the developer says. So if that happens, there'll be full information sent to everybody. Everybody will get letters, phone calls, or whatever. But we're carrying on this group regardless, so we'll keep in touch with you with our leaflets and our WhatsApp and our door knocking and so on. But if that happens, then everyone in the community gets invited to take part in that, so we'll keep you posted.
Excellent. We've also found an example of somewhere in the UK where they successfully defeated a luxury property developer. And this happened in Frome, something called Mayday Saxonvale. And they had a luxury property developer who submitted a master plan, very similar to the one that Berkeley Group is going to be developing and submitting to the planning committee. And the community developed their own alternative master plan, submitted it to the planning committee, and won. Their master plan was accepted instead. Now, there are some differences between what's happening in Ladywood and what happened in Mayday Saxonvale. Mayday Saxonvale was on a much smaller scale. And my understanding is that it was primarily about commercial property development, so businesses and shops. However, I still think, and I hope you would agree, that it's worth trying to create our own master plan to go against Berkeley Group's plan for lots of luxury properties, and instead to have some better things for our community. And there are things like community-owned assets in that master plan. So, for example, making sure that things like the pub and the churches, this church, are protected, and that any profits from new developments stay within the community. So we will be working on that as part of the master plan as well. Any questions on the alternative neighborhood plan and the alternative master plan?
Just ask, what the timeline is. So I mentioned what was it, 5 years to develop that plan?
Yeah, so once the forum is established, there's a 5-year time period. So the group in Perry Bar took about 3 years. Again, it's a slightly different area, but you get 5 years to complete that. The council have to support that as well, so they have to put resources in. We will say as well that we know that sort of a friend of our groups came from Druids Heath to tell us that the Druids Heath plan that went ahead, the council a number of years ago now, started actually demolishing buildings and then changed their mind and went away. And there's still areas now that haven't been rebuilt at all. So we're very clear that in Birmingham, there's a very poor history of the council, not just not engaging, but starting things without intending to finish them. So again, we cannot allow that to happen here. But yeah, 5 years is the period to make that happen.
Okay, and are you able to also clarify how residents can get involved with the neighbourhood forum and when they can do that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's money released to it. We don't know how much and exactly how, but the group gets money to do their own work. The forum has to have at least 21 members, which we know amongst you here and our friends outside will easily get that. And amongst that group, they can just be supporters if they want to, but amongst that group, they'll then select a group of people who will basically steer the plan forward. But again, that plan, which is led by the residents, will have to continually consult with the residents, which would be the difference to what's happened so far, to make sure the range of voices are heard. So it'll be resident-led. We'll wait and see what this draft charter says, but certainly the neighbourhood forum is from the residents for the residents.
Question in the back.
Sorry, just a quick question. You said it would have to be improved, kind of like, democratically. Is it likely we don't get 50% of the people to vote for it, it won't go through? How would that democratic approval happen? What's the threshold?
Yes, that's a good question. So the question was, what kind of process for the actual voting? It's a simple majority, I understand. So it would be effectively 50% plus one to go ahead. But because the whole process would be developed with the residents, we like to hope that because the residents have a part to building the plan, that they're then going to vote for it. But of course, we can't predict the future. Certainly not the referendum. So, but yeah, it's certainly resident-led. So hopefully that will build it in.
Microphone, please. I'll hand you the microphone. Sorry, that's me telling myself to have a microphone. Sorry.
I was just asking if the forum, are there any guidelines to ensure that the forum represents all occupants of the area?
Yes, so in the constitution, we've actually written into it, that the main groups of people in the area must be part of the group. It has to be diverse in both background, and ownership, housing, sexually, etc., all the different types of groups. And again, because it's open to the whole community, there has to be at least 21 members. There could be 2,100. It just depends on how many people get involved. But yeah, it's actually written that we've got to have diversity in different levels, which includes the type of tenant or home.
Other questions on the neighborhood plan or master plan? Did you have a question? Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
Speak into the microphone if you can. Yeah.
after the generation, can we come back to our area because we learn the area, we have to tell everybody to come back after.
That's a great question, and I think depending upon the property that you're in, the answer changes. So the council, I think, has said that if you're in a council property, the idea is to move once, but stay in the area. That's my understanding. However, if you're in social housing or if you're a private homeowner, I don't know. It's not clear to me. Does anyone have a different reading of the answer to that question? They have to have a certain percentage of social housing in the new development.
I was saying from a commercial perspective, the developers would be interested in consuming as much land space as they can to build accommodation. They've got more high rises will go up, or maintenance will go up to house the social housing.
Hi, so already the Ladywood Group has been chosen as the winner of the bid, is that correct? Okay, if you're going to submit alternative master plan, the Ladywood Group's formal background is in providing luxury housing apartments. How does that impact the way in which you can actually think about the master plan? And does this suggest that it might already be quietly a locked in sort of deal? Yeah, like is it even feasible to change out the development at this point of the plan?
Laura and I met with the party group representative and the council. We were absolutely told 2 weeks ago it's a blank canvas. So do we believe them? No, we don't believe them, but we have absolutely pushed them out. So I've written to the councils again and said, can you give us written confirmations of blank canvas? I've also written to the commissioners last week and said, can you please hold the councils to account to what we say? They've said this so far. We need it and I've written because at the moment we're told this truth, sometimes we're told blatant lies and sometimes we're told statements because we don't understand what they're talking about. But we have absolutely been told it's a blank canvas 2 weeks ago by the representative, and we're absolutely pushing for a blank canvas. We can talk about.
Just before we come back to your question as well, I've just been asked to remind or to note again, or like Laura opened at the start, to be clear, we are you and you are us, we are residents, yeah? We're not part of the council, we're not part of the developer. So we just want to make sure that's clear when we're not speaking for the council, we're pushing against them, but it's a good point to remember. Just also on the developer question, so there were 3 developers that put forward an offer to be the developer. One of them COVID hit and they said their plans changed, okay, fine. The other one mysteriously disappeared for a reason we can't find out. So Barclay was chosen because they were the only people left standing in the ring. As Laura said, there were questions over them. We originally told that they were contracted in. Now we've had it confirmed there is no formal contract signed yet. And of course, they're years away from planning application. But we're told they're not even contracted now, so we've still got a foot in the door.
So that planning meeting, January.
Just really quickly update on the timeline, because I think there's a lot of confusion about this. So in 2019, the council put out a tender and they said, we are looking for developers. From 2019 to 2023, they picked Berkeley Group without us. After Berkeley Group has been chosen, now they're in the process of updating the master plan that they submitted as part of their application to become kind of the preferred bidder for this. They now have to develop a master plan and submit it to the planning committee sometime in the next 2 to 3 years, is my understanding. That's when the first one will go in. So right now, we're trying to come up with an alternative and a different plan to push and to influence them. So yes, there's absolutely a possibility, number one, to influence them and to influence that master plan. And number two, to submit an alternative one. Will we win? Maybe. It's really uncharted territory. Should we try? Yes.
You heard it, what date was it you heard?
So the vote that we get at the council, so there's planning meeting in January next year. The builders are going to move in next year to the old Ladywood office and use it as a site, and they're planning to break ground in 2028.
2028 is when they'll submit the master plan to the planning committee.
Plans to break ground in 2028.
Yeah, but they have to get approval from the planning committee before they can do that, and that's what they need us on side for. If they don't have us on side for their planning application, if 90% of us say that we don't want it, it's gonna be really difficult for that planning committee politically to say, we approve and we support
But
this.
if they have the meeting, then none of us are there.
It doesn't matter, the planning committee are other local councillors, the planning committee meets on planning applications and they have to show certain things.
Well, they are actually,
Go ahead, sorry.
Council policy, in theory, is that if it's a new development, it should be 35% social housing. In practice, there's a very long history of developers coming back, oh, that doesn't suit it, we can't make a profit if we put in that much. And the council just rubber stamp whatever figure they come back with, which is evidently what's happened at some point, because it's on the council website, in the document, it's down to 16%. And if I'm understanding the situation through right, this was the crucial point on which they got the resident plans through, that it included whatever proportion of social housing they're supposed to have improved. So that is if we just need to get that.
I think that they're doing something because Victoria House has a back entrance, which the residents in there was asking for a new gate to be put on. And instead of this gate being put on, it's been blocked off, which is an access for people that live in the property to get in. That's the actual back part of where they live. And there is also a lady that has a wheelchair and she cannot get into the property now. She has to go around. All the residents have to walk all the way around. It is a block for elderly. There is one couple in one family in there which is young, which shouldn't really be there. I shouldn't say that because they're happy there, but you know, it's an elderly block. And it's being blocked off, their access is blocked off, fire, and they were told that the reason why they blocked it off is because the neighbourhood office has now been sold, is what they told them. So I do not understand that, and that is a fire hazard as far as I'm concerned, And the lady was literally in tears because she could not have access because the part where the stair lift is at the back, how can she get around there with her stuff?
Which street was this, sorry?
Victoria House, it's just behind the Ladywood office.
Berkeley
Yeah.
is moving in.
In itself is a path, that is access, you know, that is a, you know, that is, should be put on.
Berkeley Group is moving in, it sounds like, and creating problems already. I think we should push back physically against that, yeah. Did you want to say something, Lee, about that?
Thank you. It sounds like we should go out and see that lady at least and see the people, because they still can't just,
The block that's full of elderly people, the reason how I know is because I mix with the residents, I talk to them, and I have a friend in the block. Couple of people that know me because I visited him. They, you know, I've felt frustrated because I can't do anything. I've literally thought, shall I go and, you know, take it down? But that I can't do, yeah? But something needs to be done about these things that they're doing. They're just literally, how can you have residency? There's nothing, I've got evidence because I've put pictures of the gate, went in to look to see if there was any sign to say that they were going to do that. Nobody knew that it was going to happen. They came back with their facts and she was literally crying, she couldn't get the stuff up, she couldn't even get up. You know, because it is the access for the stair lift to go up.
we'll go around and have a look to see what we can do in the meantime, because that's the study. Anne-Marie, did you have a point, sorry, you wanted to come in?
What was about to say was, I know this is just basically rumor anyway, but there's something going on with Berkeley Group, attempting to sort of like do early buyout for homeowners, sometime in January 2024.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I'm sure they would want to buy out as many homeowners who want to leave as possible. That would make sense, yeah.
That was discussed at those group meetings that we had. If anyone was interested in moving out early, they can also contact council. I would suggest that those first.
But as far as I'm aware, they're not able to do that. My neighbors want to move, they're private homeowners, and they cannot, they're desperate to move. It's great that there was a lot of discussion on the alternative neighborhood plan and alternative master plan, because that's something that we can work towards and something positive that we can do. In the interest of time, I think we can perhaps move along to the last things on our agenda. Or yes, one point, yes?
It's the word, was even inviting one of the to send representatives to consult in whatever we're planning to do.
And I think that gets to the last agenda point, which George can certainly update us on. It's not as if we haven't tried to engage with the developers. We've tried hard, just like we've tried to get our MP to talk to us. It is incredible to me that they will not talk to us. Absolutely incredible. That they continue not to have enough meeting space, that they continue to ignore our letters, that they continue to ignore our petitions. I am furious. So yes, we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to do an update on social housing, and then an update on the other letter writing and activity. I don't feel I'm very well placed to update on social housing, but I'll say a little bit about what I know. What I think I know is that it's not very clear what will happen to people in social housing, because that information has been absent from a lot of the documents. There's also a difference between social and affordable housing. And Marco D'Annunzio at the University of Birmingham, who's gone through all of the documents, has kind of said social housing seems to be a bit absent from them. It seems like social housing will be re-provided, but it's unclear what that means. Does that mean it will be demolished and then built again? Like for people living in council properties, they'll move in one single move? Or does that mean that it will stay as it is? It's really unclear. Does anyone have a different understanding of social housing?
And even a housing association is really concerned because most housing associations built 26 years ago. It's in phase one to be demolished, but it's taking place in 2040. So I have no idea what's going to happen in between times, and that's something we're really concerned about. Because there is no way a single movement happens if not in the whole phase one. whereas people move to, because they're not list for them to move to from that in a single move. So that's been really well thought out as well. And just coming back to your points on homeowners, something I've been fighting for 6 months is just before this all started, before Birmingham and City Council closed turned their backs on us completely. I spoke to the composing project or the manager and was told that I would not get the full value for my homes because they put a cap on it. We certainly looked at the funding for that, and Marco looked at that, and it's about half, the allocated funds for that is about half what it needs to be. Now, that's something we spoke to the council about, and they agreed, because my bit was, in order for me to get towards market value, was all the additional 10%. If we added this in, it might get towards that. So I was actually told that to begin with, and after that, after I was told that, they closed the meeting down on us. Now, I've been fighting for 6 months on that, saying, well, actually, if it came to the worst, and think about where it's compulsory purchase order, we would then not get the value for our homes. Now, to replace a 3-bedroom, either 3-bedroom terrace house, replace that, the nearest place it is, during what is about 200,000 or 300,000 for like to replace the home. So for our homeowners, it's really concerning, and we were told in this meeting, so it's still waiting for written confirmation on that, that we would get full market value for our homes. That's the first time we've been told that, but we were verbally told that. And we're waiting for confirmation on that. Now, I do have Birmingham City Council complaint out, and I'm at stage 2, which goes to the Ombudsman next. So I'm waiting for them to get back to me, because part of that is from the meeting. As I said, I spoke to the Commission last week and said, can we have confirmation everything that's been said to us? But we have the minutes meeting to check for accuracy as well. So they're delaying on that. Now, 2 weeks ago past it, we've got Christmas that we were absolutely pushing that at the moment. But it's a real concern. So you're absolutely right. If you're a homeowner at this moment in time, we're not going to get the value for our homes. We're absolutely specifically told that. Now we've been told verbally, yes, but it took a bit of pushing, and certainly 6 months of writing, nobody responded to me on that. I was really, really concerned.
Marco has clarified in the chat as well. There's a written commitment currently in the council documents to re-provide 146 houses owned by the registered social landlords, but the rest is affordable housing, which is priced usually as 80% market value. Social housing is usually priced at 50% market value. Incredibly confusing. We deserve so much better. Anything further? Yes, Leila. Yes, Marco said there is a written commitment to re-provide 146 houses owned by the registered social landlords, but the rest is affordable housing, which is priced usually as 80% market value. Social housing is usually priced as 50% market value. Okay, anything else on social housing? All right, on to the letter writing. I'm gonna probably hand over to George for that, but first to say on George's behalf, George has written to our MP, Shabana Mahmood, no less than 3 times, asking her for a meeting with us. She has not taken a meeting with us. I thought it was her job to meet with constituents, and she has not done that. I've started to email other Labour MPs around the country to ask them to ask her to respond to us. It would be great if we could help with that. Labour most recently wrote to her to ask questions to ask on behalf of the developer, or on behalf of us to ask of the developer. But George, you are our expert letter writer, so please take it away. How's it going?
There's been a lot of letters written, but then it's been real evidence what we really want to do at the moment. I have written to all the cabinet, the planning committee, Michael Gove, our local MPs. We've given up with our 2 councils a long time ago. And can you please sign a petition, because they're absolutely waste of time for us. You know, the things that we've absolutely begged for them to make full council meetings, they've just ignored us. And so we signed the petition. We need to move them on as fast as possible. They should be here as supporters. They should be share our views with the council. There's some really refusing to do that. They waved through this at the council. They said there were no complaints, there were no concerns at all. They waved through this. I've got various letters out at the moment. Just looking through something that Laura and I had spoken about, which is the daily basis, is our real big thing at the moment is to go back to the beginning and to produce a co-produced master plan involving the people of Ladywood. The people of Ladywood matter, it's about the people of Ladywood, and if we draw the red lines, looking at the broad fields, so that we're not then knocking down 40 houses and then a single roof. We have got absolutely lack of communication from people. The person who has communicated with us is Jane Francis, who is the Cabinet Minister for Housing. She's the one that has opened the door a little bit for us, and that's opened the door for us to go and meet with people. I did meet Andy Street and Conservative Lead a few weeks ago. Andy Street was really good, by the way. I really respected him, that he was very, very fast and he could see what the plan was. He agreed that people needed better properties in Ladywood, but he didn't agree to what was happening. So I wrote him again on this is things that we were looking at, and he's looking into that and bring that up, and with the Conservatives going to bring that up for full council meeting. So at this moment in time, there's lots of letters out there. Siobhan has really let us down. Absolutely hugely, big time. Her red lines, I challenged her Birmingham Live posted, and she just ignores me. I've asked as a resident, constituent, can I meet with her? 3 times I've been absolutely ignored. So the people that should be close to us, that's our councillors and our MP, are actually turning their backs on us completely. The people that are actually outside, and I know when we look back to Lib Dems, we had, I'm not going to residents wrote them over the summertime and got a response. So we need to be doing something. We voted this people in, and this people are letting us down big time, not even little time. So we need to be doing something. So my big urge to you this morning, Taz, please make sure that you haven't signed the petition, sign the petition. Let's show people that we need better. We need people that understands residents, that understands the community, and can make that vital difference, because we're all in this together, and I think that's a really important thing.
Thank you, George. Great update. Yes, clap for that. Thank you for all of the letter writing you are doing for us. So important. The petition is going around. To clarify, this is a petition that's a vote of no confidence in our local councillors. It is just shocking that we have not had support from our local councillors. Absolutely shocking. And no support from our MP either. We really deserve so much better. Any questions on the letter writing from our MP, our local councillors, or on the petitions? Please. Is there a microphone somewhere? Thanks.
Yeah, well, I say, can I just encourage that we all, because like I said, we're all residents of Ladywood. And George, Laura, Lee, and Labour, we're all just residents and live here. And all we're doing is doing what we should all be doing. Just write a letter, send the email to all of those people, because that's what they've been doing on our behalf, and they've been doing a lot of work where I've gone tried to write letters and got no response. Unfortunately, I gave up because I don't think I'm getting through. But luckily, people like these guys are going and pushing and writing, and we can't just sit back and expect them to do it for us. We've got to help them. It is our community, and we've got to support it, because it's not just theirs, it's ours too. They look at it just like we do. So we can't just sit back and wait until somebody else to do all for us. You've got to try and support. So even write an email or send an email to the family, even to rejection or don't respond. Just that you can feel that you have tried as well to support this cause.
I was actually just going to say that it might be an idea, because some people don't have good letter writing skills. If you have a WhatsApp group and you're doing the letter, send the letter in the group and let everyone else send it on from their own email addresses. Might be a better way of doing it rather than you just doing it from you. But if you draft it and then send it to everyone else, everyone else can send it.
I think suppose we've done that before. And part of that, we've sent the letters before, templates, I think we're happy to the council then ignores people and then people get upset, you know, because they've been ignored. It is about perseverance. So, you know, you just keep going, you keep your voice up. I mean, we've got a brilliant community here and it's about us to saying they would people matter. It's not about buildings, it's about people and people come first.
All of it, yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
You've got, yeah.
And then in the back,
I think too with the Labour councillors and the MP, Shimon Mahmood, like not paying any attention to the needs of this community is not surprising. And I feel like probably feel like they can get away with it because it's difficult to vote out a Labour representative in this constituency. I think that's probably pretty well known. So there's not that much motivation. So I feel like it'll be interesting to develop a political strategy around this as well, if there's not any like engagement with this community. I mean, obviously we can see it in foreign policy as well. I have to mention, like, anybody who supports what's happening to the people of Palestine right now doesn't deserve our vote, but they still feel like they can not support the ceasefire. I know this is maybe seems like a different issue, but it's related in that what this community wants doesn't need to be listened to by these representatives because they feel like their position is so solid, they will be voted out. So I feel like a political strategy as part of the needs of this community being addressed needs to be something we should think of as well.
well said, and Layla is very much on this point. Would you be willing to say a little bit about that, Layla, maybe? Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, would you rather not?
I don't think I have anything exactly in the works at the moment, but I 100% I agree with you that we need to attack them politically. And obviously, I don't need to, you know, influence anyone's political decisions, but of course we do have a good candidate here, Lee, who is representing the Liberal Democrats. That's completely up to you if you want to ask me questions later and see what his policies are, what they involve. But I mean, Lee is on our side regarding the regeneration. If you know the issues of Palestine concern you, all the Liberal Democrats voted for a ceasefire, that kind of thing. So also you are more than welcome to present yourself as an independent and that kind of thing. So I think as a community, if we see someone who is sort of suitable for the position and is qualified, then 100%, you know, we can get sort of a campaign going, that kind of thing. Just another way, it's come up my head now. Yes, okay, I remember. So I am 100% positive that every single one of you in this room has made at least one complaint to the council. So instead of, well, not instead of, I would say alongside writing your own letters and complaints to the council, I think what would be a really amazing thing to do is if we all compiled our complaint against the council. I know I've got about 300 of those in my Senate folder, and I haven't actually received a reply for any of them. So for example, the damp in our house has caused a multitude of medical complications. For example, from an entire year I had asthma, and it was just about. And for about 10 years I've been complaining about this, never received a meaningful response. I've received reports that the council have lied on, etc., etc. I could go on forever. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have any of these letters, complaints, emails, phone calls, anything you've recorded, please compile them together, and when it is time, we will ask you for these things to build a case against the council. So even if you haven't written a letter, don't worry. As long as you have these registered complaints, you've got nothing to worry about, and you can contribute something healthy. But yeah, this is the works.
Thanks, Layla. And just a point, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, it was actually going behind, you know. So, on the letter back from, was mentioned of a sort of template letter. I have previously worked for an MP, I'm not going to name which one, before. I can tell you straight up clearly that if you send a single template letter en masse, it is going immediately into an automatically built inbox. On the casework platform, you genuinely do need to write your own individualized communications. what you can do is you can have a brief that you use as a basis for the construction of individual emails. So it's a letter writing guide that is not the letter itself. So it says highlight these key points, a word limit sort of suggestion, and nothing much more than that. But honestly, even a letter writing campaign, I don't need to sign the fetus. They're not listened to. You will get a largely nuts and bolts like response of like, we're happy to have received your correspondence and we will respond to you forward. And then you will get about 2-3 years later, get something back. Long after your house being knocked down. So yeah, I really do think that you need to assess the validity of a letter writing campaign and petition. Just because they don't have a strong tendency of working, they really do think that the best possible plan going forward is probably to do it anyway, but not count on it as being a win, but to go with the master planning approach.
Yeah, it's fully support that. I totally get the idea, and she said it might be a sort of base we could use with some options or something, but yeah, they see these mass emails, they tend to just turn a blind eye, which itself is a democratic disgrace, but it is unfortunately the reality of where they are. But certainly, as we've seen, the content that have been sent out already it's had an impact. I'd just like to give you a brief update if you want to. The gentleman mentioned about the sort of political side. So we are going to have a general election. I think it's going to be early next year, but it's likely it's going to be at some point next year. So that'll be a general election where Siobhan Mahmood will be up for election, assuming she'll be the candidate. I don't think she's formally selected yet. Labour recently released a list of areas that they're not going to need to fight, and all of the Birmingham seats, including Ladywood, are on that. And I remember last election, which I did stand against Siobhan then, she wasn't even in the area because she was elsewhere in the country, so she couldn't even attend events because she wasn't here. So that's a general election. And then in 2026, it seems like a long time away, but we've got the local elections, and the whole of the council is up for election at that point. So there's a bit of a timeline, but it gives you a bit of build-up. But it does unfortunately mean that because of the majorities that you mentioned, and because the local election's 3 years away, there isn't always the impetus to do something, but the noisier we get, the louder we get, the more people involved in the campaign, which includes other things you've mentioned, the more they will pay attention. So it's just about noise and time and effort.
We don't necessarily think of. Go ahead.
So we need to change the labor.
We need to change some labor. And I think, even if the petition doesn't work out, even if our letters don't get answered, it's that kind of noise that means that we get to meet with Berkeley Group, for example, before our MP does. We got a meeting with Councillor Cotton and Berkeley Group because of all of the momentum in this campaign before our MP even did. So that's a huge win because she's not advocating for us.
And sorry, just one thing, you mentioned quite rightly about the press as well. I think on our Zoom, we've got the fantastic Jane from Birmingham Live. Jane and her colleague Harry have been fantastic in reporting the events going on here. If you don't follow Jane Haynes on Birmingham Live, you need to, especially what's going on at the council at the moment. The articles are fantastic to see what's going on. But we've had ITV, we've had BBC, and basically, yeah, we'll bring anyone along because they like local stories, but the more attention we get there as well. Certainly, the MP says, oh, that's the 4th time I've seen that on the ITV news and so on. So again, it's about amplification.
And I wanted to clarify why we're working with Lib Dems as well. The reason is that they showed up. If you look at the video of the meeting where Berkeley Group was confirmed as the developer, Councillor Roger Harmer, who's in charge of the Lib Dems, went to that meeting even though he didn't have to, and said, gosh, it looks like you haven't consulted with the residents. That came in the press. And I emailed Councillor Harmer, who then, that was myself and another Ladywood resident and Lee, and they said, we'll help you. We've also emailed Conservative, we've also emailed Green, and they've also offered support, but not as much as Lib Dems. We're not saying vote for Lib Dems or anything like that. I just wanted to explain why and how that's happened. Finally, we have some excellent news to announce. Always good to end on a high. Leanne Gregory has been in the chat and she said that it's okay to announce the good news. So I'll let you.
Oh, lovely. So we've got an application form. So Leanne, thank you very much for being here. It's been a fantastic help. Leanne put us in touch with a group that gives funding for grassroots campaign organisations who are struggling to get off the ground financially. And we've just been told we're getting our first £2,000 towards the group. Now there are immediately some legal fees that have already been paid out from both George's and Laura's pockets. So our group has agreed that it's right that they get paid back because they come out of their own pocket. We've also want to produce some more literature, and vitally, there's some leaflets here, by the way, if you need the WhatsApp group info or the website. And vitally, hold more of these events at more locations. Because the more public engagement we do, the more of you we get involved, we're hearing more of your opinion. Because I say, we absolutely do not want to follow the council's example or our MP's example. We need to hear more voices. So simply that money allows us to get more venues and get more events as well. So that's the first start. And so we'll be seeking to earn more as we go along. So thank you again, Leanne, if you can hear us. She's been a wonderful help to the group.
Thank you, Leanne. Just a round of applause again for that. I'll close the meeting now because it's been an hour and 15 minutes. But if there are people that want to stay around and talk, or if there are questions, please do that. There's also coffee and tea in the back. So thank you everyone for coming. Really appreciate it. And we'll be sending around notes and stuff as well. Thanks everyone. I need to send Jane. I need to send Jane something. Jane.
I have the like a flyer yesterday, and I tried it to get onto WhatsApp, but I couldn't. So I tried this one. Yeah. And it just give some space like that. So I just there we are. Now it's right.
Okay, that's not the main trick. There's hundreds of people. Yes, and what we do is we've got to send all of our information.
Just to let you know, I have one day, starting from the 8th of January. I'll be in the church from 10 till 12. So if anybody or you know anybody that has any concerns or they need somewhere to come,
Email address. It's just
just come and have a chat.
yeah.
You know, they're more than welcome. Pretty coffee, whatever. Yeah.
Well done.
Well, we don't know before however many have made they'll just divide it up and stay here. Yes.
I'm there. Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. Great. Cheers.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. On the late. Valuation. And then you get to say everything I'm gonna say. Two people that wants to solve that. But another one, Matt said, certainly it will say they came back, they don't know what we're going to do. Yeah, so, yeah, yes, yeah. But whenever you say anything about money, you're, yeah, that's no guarantee. And then say, but obviously there are the they go on the big. So this is why it's probably important to answer. But you've got, sorry, you've got. Yeah, so they come in and see. You'd have to get that class on now.
The same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, they can drive out. You know.
Well, they say like a lot, but, right, if you say that it's competitive, we accept that they make it competitive, because you're going to be competitive. Because what we found. You know what is this? Are you? Yes. What's your name, by the way? Manuel. Yeah. Oh my God, how do you find out? Buy out member.